Oh, I see.
Buddy, how you doing? Go ahead and if you want to take your unmute and everything, and say hello to the one and only Mean Man, Mike Miller here. Oh, it looks like everybody has their mics turned off. Everybody's muted.
Uh-oh.
Uh, let's see here.
That's
Here- Oh, no.
nobody wants to talk.
Hey Terry, how you doing? Go. I mean, we're basically are going to kind of open this.
There we go.
Yeah, there you go. Kind of a free forum to whoever wants to chat, say something to Mike. I see we have more people coming in here. I'm gonna let all those folks.
All right.
Man, this is starting to look like the opening to the Brady Bunch.
There you go. We'll get it.
Oh, I know we're gonna have people probably coming in and out during this whole thing. I scheduled it for 3 hours. I didn't know how long we were going to go, and I didn't want to get cut off with anything. So anyhow, first of all, I'll just open it up here, Mike. I know
Go right ahead.
your first match, according to my records, your first match here in Portland was on April 17th, 1982 against King Parsons. What do you
King Parsons, yes, I remember.
you remember that first match?
I remember the match. Yeah, it took me a while to find Portland and find the bomber, and I finally made it to the arena. And they had me against King Parsons. I went over that night.
And he was
Just got in.
that was at a time when he was teaming with Rocky Johnson. They were tag team champions. So that must have been good that you were able to go over on him on your debut night here.
Yeah, it was my first night. I just got in. I just left Charlotte, North Carolina, and drove all the way.
Now, how did you end up coming from Charlotte to Portland? How does that whole thing work with
Road.
your
Well, I was in Charlotte, and they were making a lot of changes. Ric Flair at one time, Rick was on the main card for them. Well, he got the world heavyweight title, so that means all of his bookings were pulled from the Crockett's, so they had to cut back. So I was there for 3 months. I didn't have anywhere to go, and not Jules Strombo, and they said, "Hey, we have I know Don Owens. I'll give him a call." So they gave Don Owens. I got booked in Portland. So
Now, did you think Portland? Holy crap! That is, I don't even know where Portland is. I mean, that's on the other.
I had no idea where Portland was.
Did you have any idea? Did you know about Don Owen
I had never been out of the. When I started, I was a Tennessee boy. So I wound up in Florida, then Florida to Louisiana, and Louisiana to Charlotte, and then all the way to Portland. So.
And you stayed here and when you got here, one story you told me on the phone a couple of weeks ago that I thought was real funny. You were a blonde. You were a natural blonde when you were here.
Oh yeah, I was.
And
yeah.
They said,
you know the guys you break into the business and you want to be like and I had just kind of like dirty blonde hair, really.
mm-hmm.
So I said, and some guys said, "Man, you need to have a little flair." So I just bleached it out. I had blonde hair, and I had a silk jacket that had "Welcome to Millertown" on the back of it. And I think one of the fans still has it. In fact, one of my friends, Carmen Drake, does. So she has my jacket.
Now, speaking of that, do you have any memorabilia from your wrestling days?
A whole lot that I used to have, and they're gone. Yeah, I got Lucille, and I got a portrait that was painted of me. I don't know, 86, maybe 87. A guy, I tell you what, it was a guy in Piddleton, and he painted it. He said he put the body on there, and then he took my head off another picture and put it on the painting. So actually it looked really good, but what's real special about the painting, I brought it home that night. A fan, she gave it to me. Well, I put it on the couch. My daughter got up, Amber, and she was watching cartoons that morning, and she was laying on her belly and her toes, and I had black tights on where everything black was still wet, and her little toes are in the painting. So that's what makes it special to me. That's
that
not
around.
it.
Oh, how cool.
Now,
Yeah.
everybody else, jump in here. I just, if you see me, I'm not being rude by looking at my phone. I'm just posting reminders on Facebook. So, but everybody else, I mean, this is for you
I
guys.
want everybody to know that I'm beat up. I'm wore down. I can't hardly hear, but I could probably still go at least a one fall match.
Here. Now, talking about Lucille, how did that gimmick come about? Is that something you thought about, or Don Owen thought about, or Rip?
I was in the okay. Y'all remember when I was a heel? I was a heel for
Yeah.
years.
Yeah.
Yeah, grandma was pissed off.
Oh, okay. Well, okay. One day we're riding down the road, and everybody says, "Hey, you know, we really don't have a baby face that can, you know, interest the crowd." And everybody's looking at me, and I said, "Oh no!" And next thing you know, they talked me into it, and the deal with Lucille that night, we had a Rip had his, you know, the clan was there and all of us, and I think Matt Bourne, I don't know, two or three others, Buddy Rose, and they were out there beating the heck out of it. It might have been Jules Strongbow, and had him down in the middle of the ring, and they're going to town. They said, "Miller, go out there and clean up the ring." Well, I'm going out there by myself. No, so I reached up before I left the dressing room and grabbed a 2x4 that was holding the panel up, and I ripped it down. And now when I went out there, it had nails in it. And when I got in that ring, I was sticking them son of a guns in the eyes with them needles, and they were getting out of the ring. So that's how Lucille fans were making me Lucille's. I'd go to town, and this guy had a Lucille made for me. So that kind of come along and stuck with me for a while.
How many did you actually use in the ring, or the one that you have now? Is that the original?
The one I have now is the original. The one that I have, I carried it for a long time. It's just a regular looking stick, 2x4, like Jim Duggan used to carry. Well, my wife said, she goes, Sutton, she goes, honey, she goes, you need some flash in that. And I said, what do you mean? She goes, well, I went on a trip. When I come back, she done went out, painted it black, put Bad to the Bone on it, wrapped a chain around it, and put some, yeah, that's it. And I know y'all see that right there.
Oh,
And
beautiful.
put the bandanas on there. And the bandanas are for real. They're still the original bandanas I had. Well, you can ask Steve Dahl. You can have Matt Bourne. There's a few of them that I actually nailed. I mean, that thing was heavy, so I had to.
Well,
I had to make sure that you know.
Time you were doing an interview up in the Crow's Nest, and you threw it down, and it hit Don Coss in the ankle, and you could tell that it hurt him because he's doing a little happy dance up there because he got whacked in the ankle because the way that you drop Lucille there.
Okay. At Don Coss, you mentioned the guy that's Portland Wrestling. I mean, he took over for
Frank Bonema.
Frank Bonneman. And I was there for Frank, but I was only there for Frank for like 3 or 4 months before Frank passed.
Mm-hmm.
And then when he came in, he didn't know a lot about the wrestling. So I think, to me, as being a wrestler and watching it, it helped the business because he didn't know what was going on. He didn't know, he would really put his emotions into it, and Koss with that voice. And eventually, if you keep on doing something, eventually it's going to catch on. And Don, he caught on great. So, I mean, there's nothing in that time era that all you guys were watching that was great. It was the 80s. We had a good team. We had a good, God, we had Tom Pritchard. We had Dizzy Hogan. We had David Schultz. I could go on and go on. That's the early part. And then we had Steve Dahl, and we had different babyface teams that come in too. That was good. It was a near, and another thing that Portland fans, they have to be the greatest in the world, because I've seen Portland fans grow up. I seen them when they would come there for 7, 8 years old. Next thing you know, they're 20, 21 years old, and they got kids.
Mhm.
That's how much time flies. So, and I was still going at it pretty good at that time. So,
Got a message here on the chat here. Who was, and this may be a little tough one for you to answer, who was the worst wrestler to work with, or maybe someone you didn't look forward to, or too rough in the ring?
oh me. There was a guy come in here. He didn't last long. I can't remember I think his last name was Bradshaw. I don't know if you guys remember him.
Yeah.
He lasted about maybe, I don't know, a month or two. But he got in the ring with me, and he was just, the way he worked, it was just like, it made you look bad. I would keep on, giving them the pointers to it and all, And I think I got a little stiff with him one night in Roseburg, and just telling you the truth, I did. And the next day, he never showed up. He called his notice in. He never showed up, because we're out there. I got to wrestle you tomorrow night. So I'm going to look like I'm going to take your head off, So we do this 7 nights a week. I mean, you guys see us on Saturday night, but our week really starts that Sunday. And we get on the road. I put 400,000 miles on my damn car in about 3 years.
Wow.
So that's how much we were on the road doing it. And you had to have a bunch of good guys. Just like I said, we had Rip, we had Abu Dean, Ed Moretti, Buddy Rose, sweetheart of a guy. I love Buddy and miss him. And Matt Bourne is one that I really miss, and he was Portland wrestling too,
Yep.
Matt, and his dad too,
Yep.
So
now a question about Buddy. Did you ever ride in the car with him?
I used to ride in the car with Buddy a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, he'd come up. Of course, Buddy, he never wanted to drive. He always, unless it's driving in front of the camera. You know how Buddy is. So, hell, he used to call me and Rip to walk through the mall with him because he was afraid somebody was going to jump him. And I said, Buddy, come on. Ain't nobody going to jump your ass. So me and Rip would go down to the mall, walk, he'd do his shopping, and we'd leave. But yeah, speaking of, I drove with him plenty of times. Him, Snake Williams, Abu Dean, Buddy had a strange. He was always. You never could shut Buddy up. He was always talking. But I don't care if he's on TV or if he's riding in the back seat of your car. He's going to keep you entertained on a 300-mile trip. you know, and
Oh,
I loved it. You know, I was, you know, when you break into the business, you got to know these guys. You got to get to know them. Before long, they become your family. You know, and just like family, you got some that are way out there, and some that are, you know, that are pretty level. You know, so
I mean,
all you guys, y'all used to watch me.
everybody here.
yeah,
That's
Oh, did?
absolutely.
here.
Okay.
Hey,
Anybody else?
You look familiar. I don't know who you are, but you look familiar.
Who's that?
That guy
I
right there.
remember you
Yeah.
from mainly,
Steve.
No, this guy right here.
That's the guy, Steve.
Steve.
That I showed you a picture. Let me show you.
Okay.
Hang on. I'm gonna show you.
A couple of questions that are coming in here.
No.
Have you talked to a Buddha Dean lately? Or when was the last time?
I just talked to him, not, you know, oh, okay, yeah. Buddha Dean, I talked to him about 3 weeks ago. I sent him I had a DVD. When he was there, he had a strap match with Ricky Santana, and he never got to see it. And it was the only strap match on TV at that time. So he wanted to see. I had it. So I sent him, and he had 2 interviews that the Klan cut on there that he does real great, where he was talking about, you know, a Buddha Dean and the cosmic cookie and
The bones of or whatever.
I mean, he had it down, you know. So I sent all that to him. And it's so funny. He said, you sent me the DVDs, but he said, all my kids are on computer and they use the thumb drive. And I said, you know, I'm still stuck in the 80s. I'm so glad there wasn't phones and cameras when I was running around. I guarantee you. So,
And
I had a good time in Portland. I miss it very much.
what made you kind of homestead here? Because you were here for the most part for about 10 years wrestling. What made this area so special to you?
The people, the weather. You know, when you can go out and get blackberries, as many as you want, cherries. I mean, it's just it's the Garden of Eden. You know, you get apples down there at Hood River. You know, I would when I settled here, I settled because of the weather too. Because in Tennessee, you're either gonna freeze your butt off, or you gonna burn up. And the burn up hadn't started yet. But when it gets to 90, it gets bad. When I was in Portland, when it got 90, 95, it wasn't bad. But I get down here and 90 is like 120. So, because you got the humidity.
Now you another question
I
here.
don't know. I take it up all the time. I don't know if anybody wants to ask questions or.
I'm there. People are putting questions in here in a little chat here, and they're having me ask. I don't know if they're afraid to talk to the mean man that you
bore everybody.
but yeah, everybody unmute and do the questions here. Ask your questions of Mike. Steve here wanted to know, who did you learn the most from?
Who did what?
Who did you learn the most from during your career? Probably early in your career. Who taught you the most, or who did you? I would say, and Steve, you can jump in here as well. But
oh God,
who really influenced you, and who'd you learn from?
I probably got about 5 people that in Florida, when I first broke into Florida, a green Southern boy had my Southern accent. Couldn't anybody understand a word I say, but Manny Fernandez, I don't know if y'all know him.
Yeah.
He was a hell of a wrestler.
Hmm.
Manny Fernandez could hit them ropes. And I'm thinking, because he looked like he was going to come out of the ropes. But he'd hit them hard, hit them, and I say, I want you to show me. So he took me and Barry Windham, y'all know Barry Windham,
Yeah.
Yeah.
to the TV station in Tampa, Florida, and showed us how to hit the ropes. He hit the ropes with us, showed us. So Manny Fernandez was the one. Dr. D, David Schultz, just by his persona and just by the way he acts in the ring. And, you know, he's a Southern boy, so it rubbed off, you know. Rip Oliver, I learned a lot of psychology from Rip. Rip was my brother. He's like a brother you never had. You know, God bless his soul, but he ran Portland.
He was so entertaining.
Oh, he would, you know, he
was
would come
great.
up with some stuff that,
Yeah.
you know, we'd sell out that building like crazy. So I mean, you know, him and Abu Dean, you know, and right at that time was my era. Of course, you got Buddy Rose, you got Matt Bourne, Wiskowski. You know, Wiskowski, he's probably been 8 different people inside the ring. You know, so
Omega was a classic.
oh God, they used to Dutch Savage. He used to always close because his wife was named Willa. He goes, Willow wants to say good night to Miller.
Hmm.
So that's the only. I've never met Willa, never met her, but she always said that.
Steve, I see you have your hand raised, so go ahead and ask your question. Oh, you're right. Yeah, you got to unmute yourself.
Okay, I'm unmuted. Mike, can you hear me?
Go ahead.
Hi, Mike. Do you remember me from bouncing at Jody's and a couple of the nightclubs we were at?
I talked to you. Sure did.
Yes, we talked.
Yeah.
What kept
Yeah.
you around Portland after you left wrestling? What made you stick around Portland and make this your home before you left to go back down south? I know
Well, I
that
had family there.
you had family there?
I had son. I had a stepdaughter. I had a stepson. You know,
Mhm.
and I had left Tennessee, so I had been up there for 10 years, and you know that was where I was going to be. I wasn't going to leave anymore, and I just loved it. And I didn't want to go anywhere else. You know, I that's when I got my truck. Hell, I got my truck driver license. I was hauling logs off Mount Hood. You know.
Yeah. Well, I want to
was
tell you, Mike, that you are one hell of an entertainer, and thank you for entertaining all of us for all the years you did. And it was a pleasure to work with you for the many years that I did. And I consider you a friend. I always will. And you are a fine man. And I'm glad you're still here with us.
Appreciate it. I mean, to me, it was fun. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed every bit. It was hard. I'm hard on my body. So, you know,
Yeah.
I'm hard for me to even get up out of my seat. But after 3 years, it was just something. It's like putting on your socks and shoes.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
great. It was, and the people I met too.
Yeah.
From the fans to the wrestlers.
Yeah.
This
Yeah,
time
all
right
good
here,
people.
wants a question.
Jane, you have a question there for the Mean Man?
Well, I don't have a question, but I just have to let him know that my mother was in love with him.
Oh me.
And she would go to Salem Wrestling with me, and she would go, Janie, are you going to wrestling tonight? I said, yes. And she had to come. She just loved you, Mike. She thought you smelled so good.
Just so happens. What was her name?
Her name was Clara Conley. She's been gone. She's passed for a long time now, but
Did she ever come up
to
to me? Did she ever, did we
She got-
ever interact?
yeah, she's gotten a couple of pictures with you, but then again, where those pictures went.
No, I don't forget a good smelling woman.
But she was like in her, oh, she would have been like in her 70s, I think, late 60s. Yeah, she really
But
enjoyed
she's
you.
my age. She's ready. Well, good. Well, okay. Well, I'm glad I made her happy.
You did, you did.
I'm glad. I'm
Thank
glad.
you.
I'm glad she loved me. I mean, there's a lot of people that didn't, but thank you.
Oh, no, we all did.
Hey,
Um,
Mike,
I'm going
Oh.
through some other pictures or other questions here on Facebook. Tammy wrote here, I wonder if Mike remembers years ago in Portland during a match, I was flipping him crap and he told me, shut up, asshole. It made my night when he took the time to shoot crap back. Anyway, I always like you, Mr. Mean.
Well, I always never made it personal.
No.
So if I pointed at you and I said that, I wouldn't even know who you were if I walked out of the building. So it's just something. It's just some of my comeback.
You
You know.
were the heel.
I mean, I don't want to get beat up by the fans.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now,
No.
a lot of heels that have said over the years, and I don't ever recall this happening in Portland, but were you ever attacked? Did anybody ever try and lunge at you or take a knife to you or try and burn you with a cigarette or something?
I was sued 3 times in Oregon.
Hmm.
People come at me with people hit me, so I just defended myself. And people come out of their pocket with something, I defended myself. And right there at the Portland Sports Arena, a guy hit my head, and I put him down to the concrete, busted his nose. But and in every bar, me and Rip and Assassin or a Boudadine or a Tio or whoever it was, there's probably not a bar in Portland that we hadn't had a little confrontation.
Wow.
Yeah.
People trying to prove that they're tough and they can beat up the
Well, it didn't take them long to back down.
yeah. Well, and then you have all these people that say, "Oh, wrestling's fake. I can take these guys out."
Well, I was hoping I hope they believe me.
See another question here that we got. Let me go back here and see who it was from. Triple V. Want to know what other territories you worked besides Portland?
Tennessee. Everybody works. Tennessee, Florida, North Carolina for the Crockett's, Florida for Dusty Rhodes and the Grahams, Louisiana for I think it was Mid-South Wrestling, and that was Cowboy Bill Watts.
How was he to work for? I've heard various wrestlers say about him.
About Watts?
Yes.
Well, I wasn't up there, because he kind of messed around with the big money. I was kind of the guy that put the guys over.
Okay.
But I've seen him go off. I've seen him go, yeah, and no, you never could lose a fight in a bar. You never opened your mouth about the business outside the business. Kayfabe all the time. So I mean, I was raised in that strict because they bust in your room and tell you.
Wow.
Oh yeah.
I've seen I've seen guys put their head in the sink and tell them, say, man, you run your mouth, it's gonna be more than this. you know. So
Uh,
it was just the kind at that time. I don't think it is now.
no, not at all.
Now it's more entertainment, more, you know, I don't know if they gotten smarter, but they sure are bruising themselves. I don't think I'd be coming off the top rope 7 nights a week. You know, look at me now, and I never did. I never did that. I'm wondering how many's going to be walking around.
But you're still here with
Yeah.
us. Now, the question for you, Mike, is that first of all, I told you before we started here that I had a little piece of Portland wrestling trivia that concerns you. Today's May 18th, Mount St. Helens Day, for those of you who were around Portland back 44 years ago. But May 18th, 1985, you know who the heavyweight champion was in the Pacific Northwest?
What do you say, May 10th?
May 18th, 1985. So 39 years ago today, you know who held the heavyweight belt?
May 10th, 85.
Look in the mirror, my friend.
Was it me?
Come on, buddy. Yeah, damn right it was.
It's you.
Okay. Well, I
May
held the thing 8 times though.
and I believe it was your first time holding the belts.
Okay.
That was the first time.
And do you remember who it was?
Who you beat? I think you beat Bobby Jaggers for the belt.
Bobby Jaggers. Okay.
And then,
Bobby Jaggers.
and then
Well, Bobby cried that night.
May 18th, 1985. Who are the tag team champions in the Pacific Northwest? It was me and Mike
Oh,
Carl Stein.
it was Rip Oliver and Buddha Dean.
No, it was you and Carl Steiner.
Oh, me and Steiner.
Yeah. So
Miller and Steiner connection.
you held both of the belts 39 years ago today.
Wow.
Wow. So now another question that we got on Facebook, speaking of
Well,
Carl.
if anybody has any tapes of those, I'd sure like to have them.
Well, now the ones that you sent me have some of that stuff on there. So
Do they?
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't know that.
That's something we can get into a little bit later on.
I'm still getting into that stuff. I just don't want it to ruin. It's about 30 years old, you know, and the volume was really bad on them. So
Yeah, I've had no problem with them so far, but
that's cool.
another
That's cool.
question that we
'Cause
have.
that's history. We could all go back and sit and watch it like we were like 20 years younger.
Oh yeah, watch it just like it was. Go back and watch these from 39 years ago on the specific date. That'd be fun to do.
What's
I'd
that
love
cool?
to do that.
What was that?
Yeah. Sometimes you see the old guys, Tony Bourne,
Well, because I could talk about I think anybody who is on the Portland Wrestling page here knows about my connection with Betty Rose and those tapes, but we can talk about that a different time. This is about you, Mike. Another question that we had is, who was your favorite tag team partner?
oh, Buddha Dean.
Yeah, and why was that?
Buddha Dean was one of them, but not Rip. Rip was probably one, and a Buddha Dean. But Rip was always kind of a single champion,
hmm
and me and the Buddha Dean always carried the belts, but me and Carl Steiner too. Yeah, Steiner. I learned a lot from Carl.
Now, an interesting thing with Carl Steiner, I think he may have been one of the very first guys. He won the championship his first night on Portland Wrestling.
Yeah.
I don't believe that has ever happened in
No.
history. You obviously knew that he was coming in. Any
Yeah.
why they put the strap on him his first night here?
Just something that clicked that night and hoping it was going to work.
Yeah.
and I guess it did.
One thing I find that was funny with him, along with a lot of the other people who've been Germans over the years, like the von Steigers and Ivan Koloff, they're from Canada. What is it about Canada that creates great guys that portray
Well,
German?
if all you people know, he's a De La Sera.
Mm-hmm.
His brother was a De La Sera from East Canada, over in Toronto, I think. And Carl, he come down here, and between me and Carl, it worked. And then Scott Peterson and Steve Dahl was our perfect baby face.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you always have to have a good baby face, good looking baby face, one that can remove, and a heel.
And that was something that there was more of an 80s thing, because although I guess in the 70s here in Portland, from time to time we had guys like the guys who would be babyface for a short time, like when the sheep herders turned.
Sure.
And Killer Brooks turned with Piper. I mean, they weren't the prettiest faces in the world, but then they were only baby faces for a short time. Kangaroo Jonathan Boyd, one of my all-time favorites.
Oh, John.
You ever work with Johnny Boyd?
Me and him used to bounce at Jody's.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
As a kid, he's a guy that scared the crap out of me during his interview.
Hey, Mike, I remember we were at Jody's, and we saw you guys when we came in. Jonathan Boyd was there, you were there, and we went and sat down, and we were having a good old time. Got too loud, and someone tapped on our shoulders, and we looked around, and it was you, and you said, "Hey, gentlemen, just have a seat and enjoy the show." And it was like we were just quiet after that. But it was great. It was a great time.
I wasn't into confrontation unless it.
Well, you were twice the size of me. You were like, yeah, you were. No, nobody was going to confront you. It was just a pleasure to see you. It was great.
Oh yeah, I think I was there for about 13 years. I don't know. I was there.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. I should have opened up a club.
Yeah.
That's what I should have done.
So was Johnny Boyd, what was he like?
Who was that?
Johnny Boyd. Who was he? And I ask this just once again because, like,
John Boyd was a typical Australian. Yeah, you know, he was mate, there's only men in Australia. You know.
Okay.
You know, we're the only men that know how to treat our women.
Okay.
You know?
So he kind
of, that's the way John was.
Did he kind of gimmick after he was done wrestling?
He's a beautiful man. He really was. He was good, but he still had it. You know, he always thought after you get out of the ring, you got to leave it there.
Okay.
You know, John had a good career. You know,
great. He was fantastic, and he wasn't that tall either, was he?
No, he had little flash points here and there with other wrestlers, but you know, some of the guys do.
Another question here. This is from Andrew. Who wrote the storylines and feuds for the wrestlers from week to week? Who was responsible basically for the storylines and the angles and the feuds?
When I was there, it was Rip Oliver. It was when I first come in, I think Rip and Buddy was doing it. And then Rip, he took over for 5-6 years. So, but it was kind of an all together thing. When we're riding down the roads, we're throwing ideas together. It's probably like a movie set where they're sitting around and throwing ideas together. And we know what each other can do. So it comes together. It might come together that night, and it might not, like it's not going to work until we get to the building, you know. So,
So
but
it's a team effort,
but we
everybody.
we always try to keep the ideas that make sense.
Mhm.
I mean, you know, uh, the baby face should go over, but the heel should beat the hell out of the baby face. And then the baby face gets that big comeback, boom, 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 and then beats us 1, 2, 3. He gets up, he runs out. I get up, kick the ropes, boom, boom, boom. That shows that the people are saying, okay, you got your ass whooped, you know. But then somewhere else, I mess with him. I pull his tights or something, you know. That's what made it. That's what made. That's what made. That's what made it special. I don't think it makes it special no more.
Well, it does seem like they really have angles anymore. And
Yeah, the angles are gone. You can't tell a baby face from a heel.
well, and when they
And it's good to have a baby face and heel. It's good to have a good looking kid walking out there, muscles, and then a big old dude like me or this old boy right here and walk out there, you know. It's to me it's lost its glamour, I guess.
well,
You know, well, it's got a lot of glamour, but
when you would when they'd create these storylines, would you think, excuse me, week to week, or maybe by 6 weeks from now we want to end this, or is it
well, once you started, you start out for about a month.
okay?
You know, you do something on Saturday night,
So
and
it,
then you follow it that week through the towns, and then you come back the next Saturday night and found out what you did the following, and follow up on it.
so like when you initially turned babyface, was that something that was planned weeks ahead of time?
Yeah, that's pretty much.
Because I think it was you and Art Cruz were in a tag team.
Me and Art, yeah.
It was a Coco Samoa going to hurt his leg and decided not to jump off the top rope to hurt him.
I think it was Ricky Santana.
Okay, yeah, that was the tag team. Yeah, it was Coco.
Yeah, they wanted me to come off the top rope and come on Coco's leg.
So is that
And
something that was
you
planned?
see, I broke my ankle, so I didn't want to
Yeah,
come
that
off.
it made sense.
And Rip come up there and push me, and I just come in the ring, and he put me over real big. Yeah, he sold for me, so it lasted a while.
But was that something that was planned weeks ahead of time that, hey, Mike, we're going to turn you face in 3 weeks, or it's just that night? It was
Yeah,
I decide to do it.
yeah, it was kind of if you're always in this business, a heel will always make a good baby face,
Mhm.
but it's got to be the right time.
Yeah. Well, and you had done that for a long time. And another question here from Andrew is, with the storylines, did you keep those storylines going during the smaller venues during the week? Like,
Yes.
and those angles, you would play those angles out, whether you're in Astoria or Vernonia or Hood River or wherever.
Well, it's like when me and Rip had the deal with the dress. I don't know if anybody remembers that.
Mhm.
Rip come out there and put a dress on me. Well, I went up to an interview. I tore the dress off. I said, in one of these towns, you're going to walk out with the dress on. So that whole week, Rip would go to the ring, and then I would run out with the dress, and all we would do is run until the next Saturday. Now that's what you do. You follow what you did on Saturday, even if it's in because our tape was going all over Washington and Oregon. You know, it was hitting a lot of venues at the time. So wherever you were, if you were on TV there for, let's say, a month, eventually people in Tacoma will know you. People in Seattle will know you.
Mhm.
You know, they'll know you from all over. But that's why Portland was so great. You know, it was like a family.
One other thing about you, Mike, that's unique is that when you came here in the spring of '82, you were, you were an opening match guy, mid card guy, and you, through the years, this was something else that was kind of rare for Portland, is you built your status. You went from an opening match guy, and before long, you're in the clan, you're winning championships, you're a main event guy, and you turn into a legend. How did that happen? How did that build up happen with you here in Portland?
That was kind of like a tornado in my head. It just happened. I always wanted to go in the ring and make people think that I'm the baddest dude that ever walked. And if I kept it up, then eventually, from the help of the other guys telling me what I was doing wrong, it formed. It just kind of it'll form you. And everything that I learned come to a head. I mean, from being a job boy, knowing that you got to put this guy over because this guy's going to be making money,
Mhm.
and then you come up where this guy's going to put you over because you're going to make money. You know, so it's all a book.
Now, one thing that I discovered when I was going through the results when you first came to town, Rocky Johnson was here, and you wrestled Rocky 3 out of your first 5 weeks in Portland.
Yes, sir.
How did you learn something just from those?
I drew blood on Rocky Johnson too. My second match with him.
Hmm.
Yeah, it was an honor because Don Owens, he said the best worker we've got is Mike Miller. He said you go out and tell Mike he'll do anything you want. So Rocky took me over in the corner, did his little thing, boom, boom, boom. In fact, the first time he come down, his son, The Rock,
Mhm.
was with him and sit in our dressing room and went around and shook everybody's hand. Well, I went out with Rocky that night and had a great match with him. He did his little punching deal, and I just followed him. The second match, we did the same thing, and then I mean these were over a year or two, but I was in there with him for three matches, and uh, they all worked.
Was it? I mean, you were relatively young at the time, and Rocky was a real veteran. Did he take you under his wing those first couple of weeks and help you out?
He may have. Because he would pull me over to the side and tell me about my punches or tell me about my forearms or something,
Mm-hmm.
I was probably a little naive where I didn't accept it at that time, but it stuck with me, And there's a lot of young guys. Big John Studd was another one that I had the privilege of learning a little bit from.
I'm just answering a couple of questions here. So anybody else, take over here. This is for you guys. This isn't just me. So
I don't want to bore everybody.
No, you're not boring at all. I just want to feel like I'm the guy in control here because it's all you guys that need to ask questions. Jane, go ahead.
Mike, do you
Uh-huh.
do you still like that song "Bad to the Bone"?
Bad to my yes, bad to the bone. Yes, every time it comes on. I used to have it as my phone ringer, but I was thinking, well, that's kind of got a little bit too much. So, but I did. I mean, the first time I played, first time I had music, everybody was having music, and Don Owens was going, Jesus Christ, we're not like New York, nobody's gonna be playing music around this damn place. And I said, well, Don, I got a music. It was Duran Duran, my first song, and I played it
Wild
Wild
Boys.
Boys, and I played it going to the ring, and then it wasn't 2 or 3 weeks later I heard Bad to the Bone, and I said that's the one I want.
I
So
think
then I
we've all,
started,
I think
huh?
we've all had it. I think we've all had that as our ringtone because of you.
Right.
have.
Well, okay. Well, good. Good. Yeah, it was one of my best. I liked. And then everybody started picking up, coming out. The Ricky Sandana, Best Dressed Man.
Oh yeah.
The other guys had Money for Nothing, Chicks for Free. Steve Dahl and Scott Peterson. And it was a time there where we were changing in Portland.
Did
You
Ro-
know,
uh,
adding music.
did
We
Ro-
were adding stuff, but kept the basics. You
because
know.
when Roddy came in, when Roddy Piper came in the late '80s, was that when a lot of that stuff really started happening? That's when they changed the look of the crow's nest and things like that.
Well, that was when the booking went over to the Grappler.
Okay.
Uh, uh, Rip got kind of burnt out, so him and Grappler were real good buddies. Called Grappler, and he come in, took over the book. Well, as you know, and all of you know, different people have different ideas. And the Grappler had a little bit of different ideas as Rip, but we had to let him go. And that's when Grappler come in, he took over, and you notice the change in the catwalk and where Don was doing it. They were doing the Rose Garden.
Mhm.
They were doing what was that thing they called this? I was gone at that time. I was gone over to Billy Jack to Oregon City to that OWF,
The
which I shouldn't have done, but everything was closing, you know, and they were putting the main event guys down on the first and second matches. So me and Rip decided to go over there. So that was kind of a real big change too.
I was going to ask you about that. Working for OWF, uh, the first week of OWF seemed to be really successful. Then it kind of went downhill and only lasted not even through that summer. Did you ever, in hindsight, even though you came back to work for Don Owen, did you have any regrets going and working for Billy at the time?
Well, I was getting older. I'd already had my run, and I figured I needed to change, and that's why I left. But I do regret it because Don was really good to me, and he gave me the book at one time after Rip left me, and when Steiners and all were there, I had the book, figuring out everything, and I really respected Don. But I figured I had been there, I'd had my run, you guys had seen me, I needed change. So I was going to go out to WWF. When I went out there, we had the same people coming out there
Hmm.
that was coming from Portland Wrestling. So, but he was bringing talent in, paying them $2,000 or $3,000, paying us $50, and bringing talent in that our Oregon people didn't know. You know, I sat down with Billy one time and was telling him about it. I'm saying, I know Oregon people, they back the people that they know. They're not going to back somebody that come in from out of town. And if they do, it's going to take them a while to get used to them. So, but he was bringing in talent that they were good out east, but they wasn't actually really popular here. So it kind of went from really, really good the first 2 or 3 shows to losing our TV. We had to go cable TV. We had to go, Don Cost was doing our announcing for us. It was a beautiful building, but it's like giving somebody a new team and giving them a bad coach.
Mhm.
That's what happens. So
What was it like coming back? And a lot of you guys, you, Rip, Brian Adams, there were some other guys that went and jumped ship to Billy's promotion, and you came back and worked for Don. When you came back and worked for Don, did you just kind of have to apologize and say, I made a mistake, I'm sorry? And because obviously he accepted you back. What was it like coming?
I just asked him if I could come back. He said, "Hell yeah, get your ass over here."
Good. So no
Yeah.
feelings then.
So I was
That's awesome.
I was ready to go back. Rip had started logging then, and I didn't stay back long until I started logging, and I finally got out of it. So, but it was but like I said, those golden years, those 80s, I got there at 82. And around 92 or in the 90s when they finally had their last show. And I enjoyed every bit of it.
Now-
I mean, every bit of it. It was like a family every Saturday night. It was like people bringing their family.
Yeah.
You know, which made our matches better. You know, we had an ice storm once and still almost sold it out.
Wow.
So that shows you, we had dedicated fans. It's one thing the guys forget. It's fans like y'all that made us what we are today.
Mhm.
And
We love you.
and you don't know how bad I miss y'all. I go out there and I was hollering at you and cursing at you and everything else, but I still loved you.
We miss you too.
A lot.
Speaking of Billy, there was another question on Facebook. Your thoughts on Billy Jack. I mean, he's obviously has come across some hard times here recently, but to say the least. But
Yeah, he's been drug across hard times a lot.
because you
His own hard times.
had a great feud with Billy. You worked great together, but overall, how was it working with Billy?
It was hard because he was learning. He was we were working out at the gym over off 82nd. I don't know if y'all remember it. It was 82nd was where Tom Peterson stores are.
Yeah.
There was a gym right down there. So we go down there and work out. And this big guy kept on following us around. He wanted to be a wrestler. And I'm thinking, well, his body looks great, but can he work? Can he work without hurting me? So Sandy took him and trained him. And a few guys trained him, helped him. We got behind him and trained him. I have a few knots on my head that are still there from him because he was really stiff. but he finally learned. You know, he had the world by the string in Portland. He did. You know, breaks my heart to know that he, you know, went the way he did.
Yeah.
Yeah. But he was, as
Nope.
far as all, he had a good heart. You know, we had an angle going. I would holler at his daddy. His daddy was in a wheelchair that was blind. And I would go up and tell him, why don't you back your blind daddy out and back that truck in here and back him in that truck and take him back to the blind home. We don't need him here. He can't see nothing. And me and Billy got into it. We had a good run for a while, you know. So,
Now,
but
the one thing that I remember about Billy, it seemed like he bled every week. Billy,
yeah, he loved that. Yeah.
and I don't mean this as a slight towards you at all, but I don't ever remember Mike Miller bleeding. Do any of you guys remember? Did
I
you?
do.
Okay.
You don't remember my cage match with Billy Jack Haynes?
Was that on TV?
I'm not sure. Probably not, but we had a cage match. We had a street fight cage match. I don't know if any of y'all remember it, but the one that lost had to leave town. And I was going to Japan anyway. So I was in there with boom, 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 boom. I got color, you know, Billy got color first. I climbed the top of the ring. He grind my head in the top of the ring. We go down. We had blood everywhere. And for 4 weeks, I was gone to Japan. Yeah, that was one of the first times, the real good times I bled. But Rip always did the bleeding.
Yeah.
Buddy, Bobby Jaggers, you know, just
Now,
I figured I could get my point off without bleeding.
Bobby, there's a piece of work. Once again, this is another thing that you and I talked about on the phone, but Bobby Jaggers, everybody seems to have great stories about Bobby Jaggers.
Yes.
Can you share some things? Since you worked with him when he was a heel and as a babyface.
Yeah, I was. Yeah, I was. Bobby loved to talk. You know, he never met a stranger. You know, we go into clubs and sit down, and he'd get up and start talking to somebody, and the next thing, the guy's ready to whoop his butt. And he's coming over to me, and I'm thinking, don't come to me. He's gonna whip your butt. So I'd have to straighten it out and tell him that Bobby just had a little bit too much to drink, you know. And I used to go to the gay bar down at
Portland,
Flossie's.
Yeah.
Remember Chris Colt?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Who
Chris,
can
I
forget?
love Chris to death. And Chris told me one time, come down to Flossie's. I didn't know what Flossie's was. I went down there and I parked my car. I had my long hair all out and I had my gold on. And I went strutting in there and I'm looking around. I'm thinking, hell, ain't nothing but guys in here. And then they're all wanting to buy me drinks. Hey, Mike, you ever had a man? You'll never go back to a woman. I go, wait a minute. I'm married. I got 7 kids. So I sit there and I would party with Chris all night. Had a good night. The girls would come in and dance because the guys wouldn't bother them.
Yeah.
You know, I went in there with Bobby. Bobby's running his mouth, calling them, pardon my language, faggots and everything else. I'm telling Bobby, shut your mouth. And next thing I know, I see them passing a gun around. And I'm thinking they're fixing to shoot us, especially Bobby. So I got to get him out. So we had to leave early. So you just don't say that when you go when you go in a place like that. You know, I just went in for the free drinks. Oh me, that's one thing I miss. I miss Broadway. I miss Burnside. I miss McLaughlin. I miss 122nd. I used to hit
Yeah.
the Copper Penny a lot.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
I probably
Yeah.
see there. I could have gotten my mail there. I was there so often.
Saki would see us standing outside, me and Rip and David Schultz or whoever it was, and he would come outside and get us and take us to the back door and give us the front seat and the tables and everything.
Brian,
So he treated us really nice.
Brian Adams bounced there for a little while.
Yeah, me and Brian both did. I needed some money too, so
Yeah.
I bounced there with Brian for a while.
The old cop.
Brian, that's another point in my life that I really miss is Brian. One of the best guys of the business you'll ever meet.
Yeah.
You know, he was had a big heart. You know, he would listen to you. You know, I said, Brian, you're a big guy. You don't have to do all this arm dragging and slamming and all. All you got to do is grab him and throw him down. You know, you're that big. You know, I tell you what, when I first saw Brian come into Portland, I thought he was coming in to take my place because he had the goatee and all this, the long hair. And I'm thinking, wait a minute, I know I'm getting old, but so I went and made good friends with him right off the bat. So he was there. He was here just trying out, and WWF picked him up, you know.
And then he came back again. Now that was one of the bigger shocks as I remember, in Portland wrestling is when Brian Adams came back as Crush when he walked in the ring, and it's like, oh, there's Brian Adams as Crush. That was a surprise.
Well, he had to use Crush because the WWF put it on him. That's his name now.
Mm-hmm.
And he had to use it. And they used him a little bit, then they kept him. I remember him living up in the hills. I'd go up there and visit him. And they would send him so different kinds of costumes until they finally got him on the Animal and Hawk, the Demolition. They had Animal, Hawk, and Crush. You know, he did a good. He had a real good run. He did. You know, he didn't have a constant run like he should have.
Well, and he had so many different identities in the WWF as well. He was Crush, and then he was Crush, the Hawaiian guy, and like they didn't know what to do with him. Here now, Jerry, you're on here, but I'll read your question anyhow because you posted it on the Facebook page. Jerry wants to know if you preferred being a fan favorite or a rule breaker.
Oh, I love being the bad guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. I love being like nice to you, but then turn around and poke the guy in the eyes. You know. You know, that kind of guy. You know, just kind of sneaky.
So that given the choice, you were heel for quite a while here, and we talked about your face turn. Did you just figure it was time for you to do the face turn? You had been a bad guy for a number of years here, and it was just time for a change.
I know, I hated it.
You didn't like
said, you're going to the baby face side. I said, oh no. Because the heels party, the bad guys always party good. You know, when we go out, we all get a room together. We got our table up. We got our beer going and our sandwiches, our Domino's pizza. So, and the good guys, they want to get up and dress up, go out to the club and go all that. No, we don't. We want to stay there.
Another question here from Jerry is he loved your feud with Coco Samoa.
Oh yeah, Coco.
With
Coco's great. Brother, I kick your ass, brother. I remember one time I did my hair. I curled it. I put a permanent. My wife put a permanent in it, and they called me.
It's really hard for
In
him
my
to
back turned one time. They called me Coco Small. But
He's doing
Coco
really good. He
always
talked to
had
me
when
online
I
for
first
about
started
10
out in
minutes.
the East
And,
in Louisiana
remembered
and
what he
North
could,
Carolina, I
Yeah.
wrestled Coco
especially us
first
throwing
and second matches.
Jonathan Boyd out of the
He would
bar.
come in and lay
together.
out about 13
Nice.
different spots he wants you to do.
It's
And
been
I'm
quite
young,
entertaining.
and I'm trying to
I bet.
keep his spots in my head, you
But
know.
look,
But that's how me and Coco got to know.
Okay. Well, and he's another guy who was Coco wrestled here in the 70s, and he built himself up over the years to become a main eventer as well. So that's something you guys have in common.
Who is that?
Coco.
Oh, Coco did? Okay.
Some of those old tapes that I got from Buddy Rose, some of the old
Okay.
footage is 1977, and there's Coco.
should I give him a flash? He's old.
Right. See, when I lived in Memphis, right outside of Memphis, I used to watch wrestling on Saturday, and Coco was on there.
Oh
I
wow!
remember that.
I see you hiding.
That was before I even got into it.
I wouldn't do that.
Another question here. Did you learn anything from Stan Stasiak?
A lot. Stan was a gentleman. You know, he walked in the first time I met him. He walked up to me. I didn't have to walk up to him and shook my hand. I'm Stan Stasiak, you know, blah blah blah. And how long have you been in the business, kid? And then when I would come out of my matches, he would tell me, "Look, you're throwing your punches a little. You know, don't throw them so many times. Throw the one that meant something. You know, bam. You know, don't hit them 8 times. Throw once, maybe twice, and let them feel it. You know." And Stan always had a good psychology of the ring too. You know, he always loved to holler at bulls too. We'd pull over on the side of the road, take a piss. We're all out there peeing, and about that he goes, "Watch this," and he go, "Moo," and be a whole herd of bulls out there, and here they come. And we're trying to get back to the Cadillac to get inside so they don't get us.
That's funny.
Here's a guy that was a WWF champion, and he's out going after bulls. That's a classic.
Oh, man.
Richards wants to know if you have any memories. If you have any memories of visiting Roseburg.
Isn't that cool?
That's very cool.
Any any memories of visiting Roseburg?
Of Lewisburg?
Roseburg.
Oh, I'm sure I do.
I mean, when you're around for all those years, I would guess it's probably tough to think of.
I don't know. We never run that quite a bit,
Okay.
you know.
Another question here from Triple V. The 60th anniversary match that you had with Rick Martel. Any memories of that?
Oh God, yeah. I was excited. It was a pleasure for me to wrestle him for the AWA title.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and actually just got the start. I think me and Steiner were together, and Martel at that time was the top thing coming out of WWF, and had a great match with him. Great one.
Did you guys chat backstage, or what goes into planning a match like that when it's a one-off? You're just going to wrestle him one time and that's it.
Well, when you wrestle so much and you say, "How long have you been in the wrestle?" and you say, well, I've been in it a year or I've been in it 2 years, well, let's talk about it. I've been in there 15 years. Well, okay, you know what to do. And that's all you got to say. And you go out there and you just kind of do it in the ring, you know.
And something that I've heard, and you can correct me on this. I've heard the term calling a match, and I've heard the term that a heel will call a match. Is that true? So if you're the bad guy, you're the heel, you're the guy that kind of calls the shots in the ring, or is that
I called every match.
you did?
The only match I didn't call is just like you said with Rocky Johnson.
Okay.
But with every match I'm in there, I got to call it to make you look good. If I'm going to call something, I'm going to call something where he gets over, and bam, I stop him. Then I start getting my heat.
And that's what if you're if as a baby face, do you still call the match, or is it up to the heel?
It depends on who I'm working with, how much experience they got.
Mhm.
If they're in there, if they've had matches before, or if they're a baby face, I'm definitely going to call the match because I know what he's going to need. You know, but if he's a heel, I've got to call with something where he comes out and something that he knows I can do. You know. Yeah, it's all done inside the ring.
I'm going here and find some more.
Sit in there and get it all. We get it all planned out in the back a little bit, and to tell you, the painting is when we step inside the ring.
Okay,
That's when we do our best.
Terry, go for it.
Okay, well, mine's kind of a statement question. Mike, from Klamath Falls, I got to tell you, I loved you back then. I love you still today. I used to go to Klamath Falls, Medford. And in Medford, it's been like 36, 37 years ago. There was a girl there that had red hair that her mother went with her, and she wanted to be a model. And you and Rip, and I don't remember who the third was, had her be your valet for a night.
Yeah.
And she walked you out to the ring.
Oh.
I don't remember what you guys did, but you embarrassed the heck out of her.
No.
I cannot tell you a memory about you wrestling. That is the memory that sticks with me. I never laughed so hard in my whole life.
That's great.
Embarrassed this one girl.
That's great. That's great. You tell her I said hi.
If I ever saw her, I would. I'm not down there anymore. I moved to Portland to watch you closer.
Oh, okay. Okay.
That's cool.
And how many people who are on the screen right now went to the sports arena? Just raise your hand if you went to the sports arena. You know, so Jane, you never did. Jody, did you? You went? Okay.
You missed it.
I mean,
It was a great night on Saturday night in Portland.
And how many of you still remember what it smells like to this day? And spilt beer and rotten cigarettes.
I like the French popcorn.
Oh man, I remember my wife, who I've been married to now for almost 30 years. When we were dating, I went to the sports arena, came back to her apartment, and she went, "My God, you stink." And it was one of those things where you came home after a night at the sports arena, and boy, it was once again just that smell that I think anybody does.
Yeah. It's just there every week.
Yeah.
Every week.
Yeah.
You know, you got your beer garden, you got your it was a pretty neat place.
And I wasn't a beer drinker. I drank RC, and I could always count on it being warm. They never drinks here. Everything was warm. So anyhow, Mike, another comment here from Susan. She said, I just want to know how your sister is doing. I lived in the same neighborhood and actually lived next door to her for a few months in the Rockwood area. So I don't know if you had a different sisters that lived up here, but she supposedly lived next door to your sister.
My sister. Would it be my sister-in-law?
I don't know. It was in the Rockwood area, out in the Gresham area. So that's just what she wrote. Bob said,
My ex-wife has a bad accident and a few years ago, and she's out there too, out in the Rockwood area.
okay, well, that's wanted to ask, since she
Yeah, my sisters are all here in the East Coast.
okay. Chuck J didn't have any questions, but wanted you to know how much he appreciates your work and for making time for everybody every Saturday night. He just
Oh, it's my pleasure.
want to know how much he appreciated it.
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah, I really look forward every Saturday night to get what we got started. You know, we always had something going, and we were always wanting to see what happens that Saturday night, to see if we made any mistakes, or and the first thing we would look at is the crowd. Make sure we had a nice crowd.
And
Make sure we had the kids there free.
oh God, Alma Drill and the and hating the kids free. That was one of his angles. Al, I've heard that he's kind of disowned himself from the wrestling business, doesn't even want to talk about it. How was Al to work with?
Yeah, he's been like that.
Yeah.
He's been like that. Yeah. There's a lot of guys that do that. I pulled myself back for about a year, and it hurt me to even hear a bell go off. I'm thinking, damn, that's kind of weird when it gets into your system like it does,
Mm-hmm.
And you know what's going on. And I knew I was getting older. I knew I couldn't do what these kids are doing now,
But working with Al during those years in the well, he was here was he here as a baby face? Were you here in the early 80s when he was here working as a baby face?
I was working, I was actually working over at with Billy Jack.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's see. Bob here says every Friday night we went to the matches here in Eugene. One of my favorites was the feud he had with Carl Steiner. Thanks so much for the great memories. That is very
yeah. Eugene was one of our favorites. We get down there and we had our little dressing room on the side there. And we sit down there, and Elton would come in and tell us, you remember Elton Owens?
I've heard a lot of stories about him. Was he the crotch
jacket in there, and I'd get some, I get a hook, and I get some fishing wire, about 20 feet of it, and I'd hook it on the back of his jacket. And when he walked back across to the babyface dressing room, people would be stepping on that wire, pulling his jacket. He said he hated us heels. He said, y'all, you look like a bunch of pirates,
But you're making them money. You were making.
I tell you, we were packing that place out.
Were you much of a ribber?
Huh?
Were you much of a ribber? There's
well, you get your ribbon, then you get your ribbon back. Mm-hmm. So the best thing I told them, look, I stay away from it. I've seen a lot of ribs go on, and Uh,
Here's a picture that I posted on our Facebook page that I took from Rip Oliver's page, and everybody seems to. They said this is in Eugene. So right there, I've never been to Eugene, but any of you, it's right there. I'm putting it up there in the camera there for you, Mike. You remember that?
Let me see if I can pull it up on my phone so you can see it.
It's a great picture of the Klan, and
yeah, I see that.
and it looks like a professional shot there, but
Huh.
and nobody knew who that was between Rip and Abuda Dean, and somebody said it was Stony Burke who was a referee that night. So anyhow, but speaking of Eugene, it just people have said that looks like Eugene. So
Right.
we have a lot of people in the room here. Come on, open up, do the questions. I'm hogging this up. Type in the questions here. Open up your mic.
Oh, Rich.
Andrew, go ahead.
Hey, Rich. Thanks a lot for organizing and hosting this. This is great. And Mike, thank you. I was growing up during the golden age of Portland
Yeah,
wrestling.
that's all of us. That's Rip. I'm not real sure who the guy with the gold shirt on.
Yeah, that's where you're thinking it was Stony Burke. Somebody said,
Okay, Stony Burke. Okay, and then it's Abuda Dean and me.
yeah.
Well,
Okay, Andrew had a question here that he wanted to ask you.
Oh yeah, so
Andrew.
Mike, thank you. I was growing up during the golden age of Portland wrestling in the '80s, and would go down to the sports arena watch you. And I was wondering if you could tell us the story of how you reconnected with your daughter Yolanda, and give us an update of how she's doing and how you guys are doing today.
Yeah, she's doing fine. She's living in Florida, married. She's got a son about 4 or 5 years old. She's doing real good. I met her. She was I had a friend of mine that that had called Portland, and he had got a hold of one of the other wrestlers, and he got a hold of my daughter, and I got a three-way contact with her after about 27 years. So we got to know each other for a while. I brought her down to Florida. She got with the guy, and she's doing good. Thank you for asking.
Any other questions here? Because I have a ton of them I could ask Mike about for forever here. I think everybody would agree that one of the dark days for all of us Portland wrestling fans was December 28th of 1991, when that was the last Channel 12 Portland wrestling.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I remember about that Thanksgiving. I think that's when he broke the news to us.
That's what I was going to ask you. How did you find out about Portland
He
wrestling?
broke the news to he didn't. A lot of people kind of knew it, but we didn't know anything until about that Thanksgiving. He said, "I want you guys to know that Christmas is going to be our last show." And we were out there in the cold. We had nothing to do, you know. So Sandy would run 2 or 3 shows. He would run over in Vancouver, and he would actually run the sports arena too. He had some kind of cable TV he had. So we kind of got it running from there. I went and got another job, really. I went and started driving truck and stuff. But it hit us kind of hard. I mean, Vince come in and he was taking everything over at that time, you know.
I had another question here. I was going to something else that you and I had talked about on the phone, and the angle with you and Brickhouse Brown. First of all, when Brickhouse came in, that was like, boy, that's big star. I remember seeing him on cable TV.
Brickhouse was real big back east. Yeah, he was in New York. He was in Memphis, Florida.
It was a big deal when he came out here, and then you right before a couple weeks before Portland wrestling went off TV, you did
Right.
the heel turn and joined Bill
Right.
Jack and had the angle with Brickhouse Brown. And looking back on it, it's something that I don't think you could do now because it was a pretty racist overtones.
Hey, it was wrestling.
Yeah.
It was stuff. I told him, I said, look, I remember you when you were tap dancing for your living and singing for your supper
Yeah. And
on New Orleans Street, on Bourbon Street.
and you were telling him how he was going to have to shine your shoes and all that. And I'm
Yes.
even
Yes.
going,
Yeah.
any of you Cass Brown when he came in here near the end, it was, but also that was something. It was an angle. It seemed like TV was going off. Something that would.
Yeah, he was really good. We got together not too long after that. I said, Rick, I said, you're really good. He said, I want to go back south. I said, you know what? We should do that. He was married to a white girl. Miss Texas was in Memphis as one of the black girls. We were going to go back to Memphis. Miss Texas was going to escort me to the ring, and his wife was going to escort him to the ring. So that's how we were going to do it in Memphis, and that would have really stirred up some stuff.
Wow.
We never got that far, but we talked about it.
I think maybe unless other people have some questions here, one thing I would maybe like to wrap up on. And first of all, Mike, thank you so much for doing this. This has been.
Thank you guys. I'm glad you guys showed up.
And just so and there's so many people. I am recording this, so hopefully we can get this up with people that asked, not able to do it, and they wanted to be able to see this. But you wrestled for Don Owen for the better part of 9 years.
Yes.
If you had to pick one memory, your number one highlight for working for Don Owen Promotion, what would that be? Not to put you on the spot or anything.
Don was kind of into himself. He stayed in the office a lot, you know, and I remember one time he come to the dressing room, and when I would do my interviews, I'd have my hat on, and I go out with my vest, and I'd start yelling, and maybe some people heard what I yelled, and some people didn't. He told me, Miller, I can't understand a word you say. I said, that's the whole point, Don. he was just all upset. And one time I remember Don Owens, Thanksgiving, Christmas, he would always give us the fifth. Always give me a fifth of Jack. He'd always give everybody a fifth. Thanksgiving, he didn't give everybody a turkey. Well, we had the midgets here. He gave the midgets garnish hens. He said, that's all y'all gonna eat for Thanksgiving, aren't it?
Oh, that's.
I want to thank everybody in Portland. I want to thank everybody. I was up there for 30 years, and I made a lot of friends. I didn't keep up with a lot of them, but I made a lot of friends up there. And ones that would call me if I was sick, ones that would worry about me if I was hurt. So you guys are great.
You're great. You're great. Thanks, Mike.
How are you feeling? Health-wise, are you feeling good?
I'm feeling pretty good. My kidneys, I got to keep them going. You know, my daughter's helping me. I got family here. I take you see my little Chihuahua, I have him here too. So I get up every morning, I take him for a walk, you know, and this is where I graduated school here. I got my ex-wife, my other daughters here, my 5 grandkids are here. So my sister, so I got family here, but to tell you the truth, there's a lot of family in Portland that I miss. And I appreciate it. I appreciate your
We miss you
time.
too.
Appreciate
Thank you
you,
so
Mike.
much.
Yeah, Mike, I mean, thank you so much. And, you know, one thing that I'll let all of you folks know that, that Mike is having me do for him is I'm transferring a lot of his VHS tapes to digital.
Yeah.
You know, maybe we can expose those to folks too.
Yeah.
So,
That would be nice.
I appreciate you
Yes.
having the faith in
Yeah.
me to do that. It's
Yeah, well, just like you know, Don never kept nothing.
yep.
He taped over his tapes every Saturday.
Well,
So
and
he
it's,
never kept nothing. So whatever Portland tape you find, hang on to it.
yeah,
It's
it all came.
it could go in the, you know, history.
Well,
Yes.
it
The way it is.
have
Hey, that sweet puppy.
so yeah,
All right.
all that video as well, as all of you who are on the Facebook page know, came from Buddy Roy.
Y'all take care.
So, okay, Mike, we'll talk soon. Thank you so much.
Hey, we sure will. Thank you again.
Thank you,
guys.
Mike.
See you guys.
Okay. See you, buddy.
See you, Mike.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Rich.